You are listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio.
Good morning, Cougs. You are listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. It's a bit of an overcast, cloudy day here on the Palouse, but we are back in the studio to record this episode. I know what you might be wondering. Why didn't we do an episode right after the Mariners Game 7 loss in the ALCS? And the answer is because I was depressed. And I didn't want to do an episode because I was too sad. It was brutal. That was heartbreaking. It was awful. So just kind of took a little bit of time just to process that, especially because I didn't want to get on the mic and, right after that, which was a brutal loss, and just start, spewing my initial hot takes about it because they probably would have been not the best takes. So I want to give it a little bit of time to digest, kind of think a little bit, process what happened. So then, give myself a little bit of time to wait and, process what happened. But anyway, it's a really, really good day for sports right now. I was just taking a look at it and I realized that today is pretty awesome. So, you got the Cougs playing today, 7:30 p.m. against the Beavers, Pac-2 championship game of the season. I'm hyped for that. That's going to be a great game. Do I think the Cougs are going to run away with that game? Absolutely. I think we are arguably the better team than the OSU Beavers. They have been awful this year. I think they were 6-0-6 or something like that to start the year, which was pretty bad. That was pretty awful. So I'm pretty up on the Cougars' chances of winning that game. The Kraken play tonight at 7 p.m. Against the Rangers. Do I think we're going to win that game? Most likely. And I'll get into that because I'm going to have a little segment later on. We talk about the Kraken where I'm going to do some score predictions for the month of November. So if you're wanting to stick around for Kraken hockey, please stay tuned. We're going to get to that a little bit later on. But there's also Game 7 of the World Series, the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers. It should have been us. It should have been the Mariners. It just was so close. It was right out of our grasp. That game's at 5 o'clock. So 3 really good games going on. I'm probably going to, be a lazy day, not do very much today. Just eat a little bit, sit on the couch, watch sports, have all 3 games going at the same time if I possibly can. That would be awesome. But man, just a great day for sports. Game 7. I look. This is a much more entertaining World Series than last year. The Yankees lost in 5, only were able to win 1 game. It was brutal because the Yankees are awful, and they just let the Dodgers kind of walk all over them in that series. But this year, Blue Jays, I was unfamiliar with your game. I did not know the Blue Jays were as good as they are this year. They, beat the Mariners, make it to the World Series, and push it to 7 games. They've been clutch. They've come up big in some of these games against arguably one of the best teams ever assembled in all professional baseball. This Dodgers team is a juggernaut, and you're able to go 7 games with them. It's like I'm like on the edge of my seat getting ready to see what's going to happen in Game 7 because this is going to be electric. Personally, if you ask me, I'm rooting for the Blue Jays. I want the Blue Jays to win because if the Blue Jays win, then that means that we lost to the inevitable World Series champions. I know a lot of people do not share that sentiment. I've talked to a lot of people who want the Dodgers to win because, rightfully so. I get what they mean, that if the Dodgers win, then there's potential for a lockout. I think we're already heading for a lockout, but I think if the Dodgers win back-to-back years because they just pay their athletes almost $1 billion, I think it definitely helps the argument for going to a lockout and getting a salary cap in baseball, which I agree in. And I know a lot of people don't. Some people would say oh, hey, we don't need a salary cap in baseball. It's just a part of the game, yada yada yada. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think we need a salary cap. There's a reason why football has it, hockey has it. It's just to prevent the problems that baseball has. It gets a little bit boring because the good teams just buy all the good players, and the bad teams can't afford all the good players, and they have to kind of be resilient, which to me, it's a little unfair, and I'll die on that hill. People will argue with me on that all day long, every day. But nonetheless, I think that we need a salary cap in baseball. But at the same time, I also want the Blue Jays to win Game 7 because then at least the Mariners lost to the inevitable World Series champions. But anyway, just a phenomenal run this year by the Mariners. Make it to the ALCS, go as far as you've ever gone in franchise history. That was amazing. That was awesome. As a Mariners fan, to see that happen this year I can't even put words to it. It's just insane. I love this team. I love the team that we've put together this year. That's allowing us to go that far and give us these kind of memories. moments in the postseason that we haven't had in 20 plus years. It's insane. And I really hope we are able to do it again next year, and we keep the pieces we need to be able to do that next year. Not sure. I mean, a lot of it's up in the air. We'll see this offseason, and I'll be keeping you guys updated about it as the offseason kind of progresses. If we hold on to some names like Naylor or like Polanco. It's all going to depend on what moves they make in the offseason. So we're going to keep you updated about that, as I'm going to keep you updated on that as best I can. But nonetheless, hey, let's talk about the Mariners. Looking at the postseason, I've compiled my list of the most valuable players for the Mariners and the least valuable players, the duds and the stars from this postseason. Let's start with the MVPs, because I want to start on a positive note. I'll end on the LVPs, the least valuable players. But nonetheless, your MVPs for the Seattle Mariners in the 2025 postseason. Number one, I got to go with Josh Naylor. He was a dog. He batted .340 in the postseason. He had 5 RBIs, and he had an OPS of .966. He was a stud. He came through in big moments. He's fun to watch. He's a spark plug for this team. He fits onto this team really well. And I'll get into it a little later, talking about why I think we should re-sign him and who else we should re-sign as well. And the fact that I think he is such a good fit for Seattle. Apparently he likes to hit here. No one likes to hit here. Nobody. Not a single. I don't think there's another hitter in the league that those words would come out of their mouth. That, hey, I like to hit at T-Mobile Park, which is statistically one of the worst ballparks to hit in all of Major League Baseball. But somehow, for some reason, Josh Naylor loves to hit here, and he did really well in the postseason, did great during the regular season when he was here. So I have no doubt in my mind that he's the number one most valuable player coming out of this offseason. I mean, maybe that's a bit of a hot take, but for me, that's where I'm putting him. Coming in at number 2, it's the big dumper, Cal Raleigh. He batted .304 this postseason. 8 RBIs, 5 home runs. I'm pretty sure he led the team in home runs with 5. And he had a 1,081 OPS. 1.081 OPS. He had an OPS over 1,000. You know how nuts that is? He's insane. He was crazy. He just popped off during the postseason. And that's because, I was worried. I was worried he was going to use up all the gas in the tank during the regular season. He hits his 60 home runs, and he was just going to be a ghost in the postseason. But apparently not. He was slugging really well. He was getting on base. He was hitting home runs. Had that home run that set up Gino's grand slam in Game 5, I believe, of the ALCS, which was just pure cinema. It was beautiful, amazing to watch. But Cal is one of the main reasons why we were able to stick in most of those games and why we won some of those games. Why we were able to win the Game 1 of the series when we had Bryce Miller pitching against the Blue Jays, where I thought Bryce Miller was going to get shelled, but apparently he didn't, which was also super fun to watch. But a large part of that was Cal, and that's why I got to put him at number 2. He's the second most valuable player during the postseason this year for the Mariners. Coming in at number 3, I got Julio Rodriguez, batted .208, so not the best batting average, but the stat that I love to poke at, and a lot of people who know me know this, I love to look at this stat. He had 9 RBIs, drove in 9 runs during the postseason. I like to look at RBIs because it's a measure of the clutch factor. Were you able to drive in runs when it mattered? And he drove in 9 runs. He had 4 home runs, so yes, granted, some of those RBIs are coming off some of those home runs as well, but still, that's part of that clutch factor. Runners on base, you get a home run. You had 4 home runs in the postseason. That is electric. The OPS was an 809, so he could really slug the ball. He was getting on base a lot as well. So, again, those are things where it's like you were putting the team on your back a little bit. There were a ton of times in that ALCS series where I kept feeling like, man, Julio just keeps coming up big for the team. And I know, he struck out to end Game 7, sends the Blue Jays to the World Series. That was brutal. That was rough. Didn't like that. But the whole playoffs as a whole, Julio did phenomenal. So that's why I have him at the number 3 spot. Definitely there were times where he just put the team on his back. It was just great to watch. And then, of course, Polanco batted .208, same as Julio in the postseason. He had 8 RBIs, so same as Cal. He had 3 home runs, just one shy of Julio. And the OPS, not the most impressive. He had a .686 OPS. A little less than Naylor, less than Cal, less than Julio. Look, Polanco was arguably the ALDS MVP, right? He just came up big during the ALDS, especially in Game 5. Where he sent us to the ALCS, had that walk-off hit. He's been clutch. When we've asked him to be clutch, he's clutch. Again, 8 RBIs. I look at that stat a lot because RBIs is a measure of the clutch factor. Are you able to hit with runners in scoring position? Are you able to drive runs across? You can't win baseball games if you don't score runs. And Polanco did a really good job of scoring runs, driving guys in when guys were in scoring position. Get a clutch hit, knock them in. That's fun to watch. And again, that's why he's number 4 for the most valuable player. And now you might be wondering, that's the end of my list for the most valuable players. You might be wondering why I didn't put Gino on there. Well, look at his stats. He had 213 batting average. That's actually better than Polanco and Julio. He had 8 RBIs. That's great. He had 3 home runs, and he had an OPS of 701. So looking at the stats, you would think I would put him at my most valuable in that conversation for most valuable players for the Mariners postseason. But I'm not. Why? Because Gino, he kind of pissed me off a little bit during this postseason and during the regular season as well. Because there were just times where he just didn't show up. You were a bit of a ghost at times. And I know the stats don't necessarily reflect that, but in my gut, it just felt like he wasn't there a lot of times. Yes, he had the grand slam that helped us win Game 5. That's the 4 of the RBIs that account for his 8. So, grain of salt with that. But, and that's also one of his home runs as well. But I will say, he underwhelmed me, is the thing. I was expecting a lot more out of Gino. And I know, again, looking at the stats, how can you ask for very much more from him? I don't know. I want more from him. I wanted more. He was one of the most highly coveted players at the deadline. Came here, halfway through the season, during the regular season, and just was not thrilling, was not super fun to watch. Again, I love good vibes only. That's great. But, he just wasn't as impressive as I thought he was going to be. And that's why I don't put him on my most valuable players list. I don't put him on the least valuable players list either, because that's reserved for kind of the bottom of the barrel type guys from the postseason. But I'd say he's just somewhere in the middle in that purgatory of not quite the best, but also not quite the worst either. But yeah, on that note, let's jump in. Let's talk about the LVPs, the least valuable players from the Mariners postseason. Kicking it off, number 1, don't think this shocks anybody, Randy Arozarena. Batted 188, only had 2 RBIs, and had an OPS at an abysmal 575. This was just not a good postseason showing for Randy Arozarena. I'm not gonna say he's washed. Well, yeah, no, actually, I am gonna say he's washed. He's just not good anymore. He was 2020 playoff Randy Arozarena was not who we saw this year in 2025. That was 5 years ago. He's not the same guy. Not gonna be hitting as many home runs. He did have. I think he led the Mariners in stolen bases this year, which is like, hey, that's great. I love that. But at the end of the day, only 2 RBIs. Only 2 RBIs out of your left fielder who's supposed to be a good hitter, who was supposed to be a quality bat in this lineup. His defense isn't good enough where I'd say, like, okay, that makes up for it. His defense is, it's okay. I don't love it. But it's not enough to say, hey, that's fine that you only batted 188, only had 2 RBIs, only had an OPS of 575. That's not acceptable. I don't love that. And I'll get into what I think we should do with Randy Arozarena and Gino as well in the offseason. I'll get into that a little bit later, but this should be a little bit of a preface for what you think I'm going to say during that. But anyway, let's move on to number 2 for the least valuable player, JP. He batted 200, had 4 RBIs, and had an OPS of 561, which is a little bit worse than Randy's. JP, love you, dude. You've been a Mariner for quite a while. You're a veteran on this team. You're a fan favorite. You're fun to watch. I won't deny that. But at the end of the day, are you getting things done at the plate? Not really. You come through clutch in weird situations where it doesn't really matter. Your defense is taking a bit of a nosedive a little bit. It's still good. You're still a good defender. Are you still a Gold Glove level defender? I don't think so. I would not say that. I do not think you're a Gold Glove caliber defender anymore at the plate. It's, again, and because of that, it's the same thing with Randy. The defense isn't good enough for me to be like, you know what? It's okay that you're only batting 200. It's okay that you only drove in 4 runs. It's okay that you're, not slugging the ball, right? That's not acceptable. I need more out of you if your defense is going to be a little less than it used to be. All this is pointing to the fact that I think JP is washed. He's not as good as he used to be. He's a little old. He's getting old. I think, and I'll get into this again when we move into the next segment talking about the Mariners, what I think we should do with J.P. Crawford. And I think that this might be one of the last years you see J.P. Crawford wearing a Mariners jersey. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Number 3 on the least valuable players list, I got Dom Canzo. He batted 107 in the postseason, only had 1 RBI, and had an OPS of 245. I'm going to say that one more time. He had an OPS of 245. That is awful. That was horrible. Abysmal. Just not good. And don't get me wrong, I kind of like Canzone. I think he's just an interesting guy to have in your team. You can platoon him in right field, whatever. I don't love platoons. I love having an everyday player at every position because the good teams are able to do that, and we're not able to do that for some reason, which kind of sucks. But anyway, he's come through in the regular season with home runs when you need him to. He's like that guy. Canzone to me is a home run or bust. It's either he hits a home run in a game, or he goes over 5 with like 5 strikeouts. That's or ground outs or pop ups or whatever. Like, he's not the kind of guy who's going to bat for average. He's not going to be the type of guy who comes through consistently. It's every now and then he shows a flash of being a great player, and then it's back to being below average, right? And that's why, and you saw that in the postseason. Small sample size, he just didn't get it done. Only had 1 RBI. Only batted 107, and had an OPS of 245. That is horrible. But then, moving into number 4 on this list, we got Victor Robles, his platoon partner with Canzone. Robles batted 111. He had no RBIs, and he was slugging, his OPS was 499. That was not good. A little bit better than Canzone in the batting average department, in the OPS department. He did have no RBIs, which was frustrating. Again, RBIs, measure of the clutch factor. If you're getting hits, are you getting hits with runner on base? Are you laying a bunt down? Are you hitting a sacrifice ground ball, sacrifice fly? Whatever it is, are you able to score runs? You can't win baseball games if you're not scoring runs. And if you're one of the guys who isn't helping the team score runs, what are you doing? You're not contributing anything to this team. And again, we're about to move into the next segment where we're talking about, because that's the end of the list for the least valuable players on the Mariners. We'll talk about what I think we should do with each of these guys, especially some of these guys who did not show up in the postseason. But I definitely have some thoughts about what we should do with Robles and Canzone. So yeah, let's jump into it. Our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about who the Mariners should hold on to, who they should dump in the offseason, and who is on the fence. Who is, might be on their way out potentially. But let's start with the dumps. Who should the Mariners dump in free agency, or in the offseason? Who should they just kind of not re-sign, trade away, what have you, etc. Kicking it off, I'm going to say Geno. That might be a hot take. Maybe a lot of people don't agree with me on that. But to be honest with you, I don't think Geno panned out the way we want him to. I know everyone said, this was the best trade deadline the Mariners have ever had. I think people only say that because of Naylor. Because Naylor kind of carries that whole thing. He was amazing for us. I think we should re-sign him. But Geno was just not up to snuff. He was just not as good as Naylor was this year. Despite just having an amazing first half of the season with the Diamondbacks, he kind of just really cooled off in the second half. And it was frustrating to watch. And it just made me really frustrated. So that's why I would say don't re-sign him. He was a rental. He did okay for us. He came through occasionally in the regular season, occasionally in the postseason, but not to what we were expecting him to be, and not for what I think he might be worth. So I don't think you re-sign Geno, let him walk, let him go somewhere else. Does that blow up in our face potentially? Maybe. Maybe it does. But it already blew up in our face, so I don't know. I just say let him walk. Next guy on this list, I'm going with Randy Arozarena. I've always had kind of beef with Randy Arozarena. I've never thought he's been a good fit for this team. Never thought he's been that great of a baseball player. His defense hasn't been that good. Every single time a ball gets hit out to him, I kind of, get super stressed. I'm like white knuckling my TV remote because I'm just like, I need you to catch this ball. Usually he comes through with it, but he just looks like he's never played the position before. And it bugs me. It really bugs me. Hitting, he's hit or miss. It feels like every single time he's up to bat, he's just swinging for the fences. He's not a contact hitter. It's either he hits a home run or he does nothing, right? And it's frustrating because that's not how you be a successful hitter. You get lucky every now and then. That's the thing about Randy Arozarena. The way I classify him as a lucky hitter. He just puts a moonshot swing, and he either hits a home run or he hits a hard ground ball that just splits this, somehow gets down, right? Somehow gets a base hit out of it. He's a lucky hitter. He's not a skilled, good hitter. That's what I can just tell from just watching him, and it bugs me. And that's not somebody you want on your team if you're going to want to go far in playoffs, if you're going to want to make it to the World Series, which we were 1 win away from. And it's guys like that who make it such that you don't win that last game and don't make it to the World Series. Next guy on the list, Luis Castillo. He's first pitcher on this list. Out of all the starting pitchers that we have on this team, I would say we should trade Luis Castillo. He's on contract for us for a little bit longer, I'm pretty sure. So I say this year, trade him. He's got probably pretty high trade value. He did great this season. He did okay this season. Did good in the postseason. Enough that raises his trade value. You can go and pick up replacements at third base and left field, who I just said we should let walk, Gino and Randy. So you can use the high value starting pitcher you have with Luis Castillo to maybe go make some deals, use him as a pot sweetener, or as the heart of one of your deals to go pick up someone who can fill in for left field, fill in for third base. And so, pardon me, fill in is not the right word. Who can be your third baseman, can be your left fielder. You can use Castillo for that. And out of all the pitchers, he's the guy I would say to do that with. I would not want to part ways with Brian Wu. Don't want to part ways with Logan Gilbert. Don't want to part ways with George Kirby. Don't want to part ways with, I'm forgetting one of those names. But anyway, I would want to hold on to them as much as you can. And if there's one guy I'd get rid of, it would be Luis Castillo. And I think I've said this probably a million times on this show, so if anyone's a repeat listener, they probably know I've talked about this a lot, and this is not news to them, that I think that we should get rid of Luis Castillo. He was our ace back in 2022 when we picked him up from Cincinnati, but he's been surpassed by some of the younger guys on this team. That's kind of a no-duh, right? Brian Woo's better than him. Logan Gilbert's better than him. Bryce Miller's better than him. The guys coming up through the organization are going to be better than him. We're gonna replace him with Cade Anderson. I have no doubt in my mind. Cade Anderson might need 1 year in the minors, but I think Cade Anderson is going to be, a lefty starter. And again, I love lefty pitchers. I love them so much. I'm so glad we got a lefty starter who might actually be pretty good with the Mariners. He's looking like he's going to be a top pitcher and could possibly be better than some of the guys we already have right now. But Castillo is on the back end of, the rotation, basically, in my mind. And Cade Anderson is going to come up and take that spot. So I recommend using the time right now, use Castillo to go pick up somebody. Go use him to trade, to get somebody who can fill in for those positions that you need, where you need bats. So that's why I say don't hold on to Castillo. Next guy on the list, Luke Raley. Love Luke Raley, but I think if we don't hold on to Luke Raley, I'm not sure when his contract is up, but if you just don't re-sign him or trade him or put him on waivers or XYZ, whatever, we just don't need him on the team. He barely played at all in the postseason. He played okay during the regular season. He's athletic. He's super fun to watch. He's a multi-tool guy. Can technically play the outfield, but I'd rather have him play first base. The bat tool is not great, not going to lie. And I think if you re-sign Naylor, which I think we should, you will not need him at first base. You'll have a guy who can consistently hit for you at first base, who is a potential, Hall of Famer in my eyes. Will probably be a Hall of Famer eventually. And if you re-sign him and keep him on your team, then I think you're in a good spot moving forward. And then lastly on the list, another pitcher who I think we should dump, not keep on the team, is Legumina. He has been awful. Awful. That's the word I'd use for him. He's not been great. He's been terrible. He's come in, relief quite a few times in the regular season. Not great. I think he showed up maybe a few times in the postseason. He did okay, but he's just one of those pitchers where I'm just like, we don't need him on the team. You can let him walk. You can trade him, whatever. Just free up some space on the team. You need to get rid of some of the guys like this to be able to free up space to re-sign guys like Naylor or Polanco, or go get somebody who can fill in for some of these roles, right? So he's the last guy on this list who I'd say I don't think he should be on this team anymore. He's just not a good ball player. Need to move away from him, part ways from him, find a different solution. Go pick up another leverage arm in the bullpen. That was one of the main problems during this postseason. The Mariners, especially we saw that in Game 7 when we left Bizzardo in, right? We need leverage arms in the bullpen that we can use to be able to get out of ball games, to be able to win games, to not lose Game 7, to not give up a 3-run shot to George Springer, right? And I definitely know the Mariners are, frustrated that they didn't get Johan Duran at the trade deadline. That he went to, I believe he went to the Phillies, right? They just offered him a little bit more money. I have no doubt in my mind if the Mariners were able to beat Philadelphia's offer offered a little bit more money, got Durant on the team. You put him in for that moment, they're striking out George Springer. And that's frustrating because, to be honest with you, I'd rather make that move than the Geno move. And I don't know, maybe we're in the World Series right now. Maybe we're in Game 7 right now because of that. But, yeah, those are the guys who I would say Mariners should part ways with during this offseason. Now, the guys who are on the fence, the guys who might be looking at their last year or years in a Mariners jersey, but potentially could be out in this offseason as well. Number 1, J.P. Crawford. I've been prefacing this a little bit during the show. Love J.P. He's great. He's been a good Mariner for us during his time here. Do I think his time is ticking? His time is up? Yes. I think it's just about done. I think his time in a Mariners jersey is over. The defense is going down a little bit. The hitting tool was never quite there to begin with. And he's got guys coming up behind him who are going to take a spot and who are going to be significantly better than him. Cole Emerson, Cole Young, Leo Rivas. Actually, I won't put Leo Rivas in there. Ben Williamson, though, right? These are guys who defensively can play really good defense, might have better bat tools than JP. JP is just a warm body filling the spot until we can get to these young guys, until we can get to the Cole Emersons of the world. And I think it's no surprise that Cole Emerson's been kind of tearing his way through the minors right now. Started with the Aqua Sox, made it to Arkansas. I think he made it to the Rainiers at some point, so he's already in AAA, I'm pretty sure. That or he's still in AA. But nonetheless, he's moving up quickly. He's on a tear in every single team he's been with. He's just been hitting the ball really well. Granted, he's doing it at the minor league level, but it's still pro baseball. And he's working his way up quickly, so he's nipping at the heels of JP. So I would not be surprised if you see JP no longer in a Mariners jersey by the end of this year, without doubt. The other person I have on the fence right now is both Victor Robles and Dominic Canzone. I think I love him. I love Victor Robles. He's fun to watch sometimes. Canzone's a bit of a fan favorite, and I kind of like him a little bit. But what I'll say is this. We need a right fielder who is an everyday right fielder. I don't like platoons. I don't like rolling out different guys every single day depending on what pitcher it is, right? I don't like playing that's the money ball approach of playing the stats, of trying to make that work. I don't like that. I want to see a guy out there every single day consistently who I know is going to hit really well, maybe just hit for average, get on base, whatever, right? That's what I want to see. So say maybe if you let JP walk, if you get rid of Robles and Canzone, get rid of JP, you free up a little bit of spending, you can go get maybe a right fielder who can help you out a little bit. I don't know, but I just don't want a platoon in right field. I don't want a platoon anywhere, to be honest with you. And that might be unrealistic, knowing the Mariners. It's probably going to be a lot of platoons, which is going to be a little frustrating. But what I'll say is this. Victor Robles and Dominic Canzone have just not been impressive enough for me to say that we should hold on to them, re-sign them, or let them stay on the team. They've been underwhelming to the point where I think we should probably trade them, use them to go get somebody else, or put them on waivers, or what have you. That's why I feel for Victor Robles and Dominic Canzone. And then the last little bit of this segment for the Mariners, the re-sign bucket. Who should the Mariners really try and re-sign this offseason? And for me, it's two names. It's Jorge Polanco and it's Josh Naylor. But to be honest with you, I'd put probably Josh Naylor first and then Jorge Polanco. I'll be okay if we don't re-sign Jorge Polanco. I'm not going to cry about that. I'm not going to be pissed off about that. I'll be fine. What I will be sad about, pissed off about, is if we do not re-sign Josh Naylor. If we don't, it is so over. We might as well just give up the 2026 season. Why? Because this is a guy who is giving you sign after sign after sign that he wants to play here, that he loves to play here. He likes these guys. He fits in really well. He was wearing a Kraken jersey, for God's sakes. He's such a perfect fit for this town, for this city, for this team. He said he likes to hit in Seattle. Again, I mentioned at the very start of the show, nobody likes hitting in Seattle. Nobody does. Why? Because it's awful to hit here. It's one of the worst ballparks to hit in all of Major League Baseball. But for some reason, he likes hitting here. How is that even possible, right? He's a clutch hitter when it counts, picks up singles, picks up home runs. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He can do all this stuff. He steals bases with the second slowest sprint speed in the MLB. He's one of those players that, if you're a young fan, you watch him and you're like, holy cow, this guy is awesome. And I want to be like that guy. And if you can keep a guy like that on your team, you're going to do great things in the regular season, in the postseason, in a World Series potentially. And you can build something around him. He is young. I believe he's only 28 years old. Doesn't look like it. He looks like he's 45. But, I mean, he's so young. He's still got a lot of time left in the league. He could 100% be someone you build around if you're the Mariners. And if you don't, free up some spending, make him an offer, try and get him in this offseason. I think the Mariners are going to be hurting from that if they don't make that move. It could just absolutely crush all the momentum that they've built up, these past few years, culminating in Cal and Julio, getting Naylor to the deadline. They all could be lost. Getting all the way to the ALCS, all that momentum could just be crushed if we do not re-sign Josh Naylor. And I do not want this to be a blip. I do not want the 2025 season to be a blip on the radar for the Seattle Mariners. A spike where we went as far as we ever did and then we never got back there. That is not what I want to see. I want this to be the sign that we are building something, building a championship team that can go to a World Series and could win a World Series for the first time in franchise history. And that's what I want to see. And it starts with re-signing Josh Naylor. We need to do that to get a guy that we can build around some more. We already have those guys. We got Cals. We got Julios. We have those guys on our team. But if you can get one more with Josh Naylor, you can build something that can be really, really special. That's all I got for the Seattle Mariners for this episode. I mean, just a lot to digest, a lot of process after that Game 7 loss in the ALCS. And we'll talk more about it too. No guests today. It was a solo job up in the booth today. Just trying to give everybody a little bit of rest after the holiday. It was Halloween yesterday, so it's a bit of a sleepy day today in Pullman. I don't think anybody's awake right now for about a 5-mile radius. But yeah, that's all for the Mariners. We're going to talk some Cracks. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to talk Kraken first, and then we're going to talk some Seahawks. So if you're wanting to listen for some Kraken content, stay tuned. We're going to be back in a little bit, and we're going to kick that off with a schedule prediction for the month of November for the Kraken. Again, we're starting off by playing against the Rangers today. But yeah, that's going to do it for the Seattle Mariners segment. Again, you're listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. I'm Smith Sly. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio.
Welcome back to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. I'm Smith Sly. We just got done talking a little bit of Seattle Mariners, and now it's time to talk about the Kraken. What a start to the season. It has been super fun to watch. I mean, you kick it off with that season opener win against the Anaheim Ducks. Again, it's the Ducks, so grain of salt with that win. But nonetheless, things are looking really, really, really great right now for the Kraken. We're firing on all cylinders. We're looking, the number one complaint that I heard from a lot of people coming into this season, and it's been true for this season, it's been true for the past couple seasons as well, is that the Kraken are basically a team of second liners. And I agree, we're a team of second line guys. But right now, it seems to kind of be working for us a little bit. We're getting a lot of assists. We're setting up plays. The offense is clicking. It's looking really good. We're making those passes. Now, something that last year I feel like we didn't do really well. Our passing wasn't great. We didn't have a lot of chemistry. We didn't look like we were connecting with guys a little bit. We didn't really kind of figure that out until the second half of the season. And by that point, it was a little too late because we got in Capo Caco by that point. But it just wasn't quite enough to kind of push into the postseason, which kind of stunk a little bit. That was awful. But this year, start of the season, looks like we look like how we did at the end of last year, which kind of a no duh because it's carrying over from last season. But I will say that the team that we have right now with, you got Mason Marchment, you got Jaden Schwartz having a bit of a hot start to the year. Matty Beniers doing really great. Shane Wright doing really great. We'll get into that a little bit later. I'm prefacing what we're going to kind of talk about in the next segment of this show. But what I will say is that right now we're playing like a team of second liners, and that's working to our advantage. Our passing is looking good. We're playing selfless hockey. I love to see it. It's great. I love it. It's awesome. But the first segment we're going to start off with today, talking about the Kraken. We're going to do a little schedule prediction for the month of November. So we got 14 games this November. 14 games for the Kraken. It kicks off with the Rangers tonight. I'm looking forward to this game. I haven't been able to really sit down and watch a Kraken game start to finish for a while. I've been really busy, so I'll finally get a chance to kind of sit down and really watch some hockey because I've been missing hockey. I've been missing Kraken hockey so much. I love the Kraken, so this is going to be awesome. But kicking it off with the Rangers tonight. My prediction, you're going to get a win. All right? Win number 1 on the month. The Rangers are not that good. They were President's Trophy winners back in 2020, what was that? The 2023-2024 season. They were your President's Trophy winners. They had the best regular season. Ended up not going terribly far in the postseason. That usually happens when you win the President's Trophy because your team's a little battered, a little bruised, and ends up kind of hurting you a little bit when you try to make a postseason push. But ever since then, they've kind of just fell apart. They just offloaded so many names last season, including Capo Caco to the Kraken. So they are just not the same team that won the President's Trophy back in 2024. So do I think you're going to beat up on them? I don't know if you're going to beat up on them. They're still a quality hockey team, but I think you get a win here. It might be close. It might be only a one goal win, right? Maybe it goes to overtime. I'm not sure. We love overtime wins apparently this year. And that, again, I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the fact that we've won so many games in overtime is awesome. It's awesome. Because if you lose in overtime, guess what? You still get a point. And you know how you do really have a good season? You know how you make it into the postseason? By getting points. So if you can lose games in overtime, that's the way to lose them. So if we just keep losing games but in overtime, I'll be a happy camper if I'm a Kraken fan. But nonetheless, I think you're picking up a win against the Rangers to kick off the season. Then you're playing against the Blackhawks. I think it's kind of a no-brainer here. You're getting a W. Okay, the Blackhawks are awful. Who is good? Who's good on their team? Connor Bedard. Anybody else? No, just Connor Bedard. Pretty sure. So that's an easy W there. And then of course you're moving on to play the Sharks. And again, who's good on their team? Macklin Celebrini. Well, I think they still have Will Smith on their team as well. Maybe a W. I think it's W. It might be a little closer than with the Blackhawks because the Sharks, I think, have been looking pretty good. But nonetheless, you're still beating them because at the end of the day, they are still the Sharks. Then you're playing against the Blues. And here's where this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think we're losing to the Blues. We lost to the Blues last year. They're a bit of a physical team. They lay a lot of hits. We're not a physical team. We don't lay a lot of hits. I think that's what's going to kill us in this game. But I think this is where you get your first loss of November. Is because the Blues, for some reason, have our number. Even though the Blues, like as a whole, are just not a good hockey team. So maybe it's a hot take, but I think we lose. Might be a close game, but I think we're still losing this game. Then you're playing against the Stars. A little bit of a revenge game maybe for Mason Marchment, who we got from the Stars. I think we lose this. We lose this one, right? Stars are a good team, playoff team. Mikko Rantanen, dog. He's fun to watch. He was incredibly fun to watch in the postseason. So I think we lose against the Stars. It's a tough one. Do I think we're as good as the Stars? No. I think the Stars are arguably just a better hockey team than us. So you're definitely going to lose that one. Then you're playing against the Blue Jackets. And again, same thing with the Blackhawks, same thing with the Sharks. It's a no-duh that I think we're going to win this game. Why? Because the Blue Jackets, I forget, are even a hockey team. They're up there with the Sabres. Or it's like, you're still a team? You still exist? You haven't done anything for so long where I'm like, okay, I don't even remember you're even in this league anymore. So that's where I think, okay, you're definitely going to get a win against the Blue Jackets because the Blue Jackets are, say it with me now, awful. Then, of course, you're going to go play against the Winnipeg Jets. And here's another hot take. I think we will beat the Winnipeg Jets. And I think every hockey fan listening is probably cringing at me saying that. Probably think I'm smoking crack. They don't know what I'm talking about. But look, I think you sneak out a win against the Jets, right? Upsets happen. They happen all the time. And if I think something in my gut, looking at the schedule, having some foresight to about midway through the month, I see a W on that game. That somehow we squeak out a win. Maybe an overtime win. Maybe it's a one-goal win in regulation, right? You never know. I think, but if there's one that we can maybe sneak out a win on, I think it might be the Jets. I don't think the Jets are going to be as good this year as they were last year. They were President's Trophy winners last year. I think it's the President's Trophy curse, where I think they might take a step back this year. I think they will. They definitely will. I think we could take advantage of that and maybe sneak out a win against them. Then you're going to play against the Sharks yet again. I think you get the W. You sweep them in November. 2 wins. Because again, like I said before, is their name still the Sharks? Yes, they are still the Sharks, and they still are an awful hockey team. So you beat the Sharks 2 times in November. Then you're playing against the Red Wings. And again, maybe this is a bit of a hot take, but I think we lose to the Red Wings. I think we get upset a little bit by Detroit. Because I don't think Detroit's all that great of a hockey team. They're not the best. So I think this might be one that we might just drop because we're just not ready for it. Get punched in the mouth a little bit. You just came from playing the Sharks. Now playing a little bit of tougher competition. So they maybe get punched in the mouth a little bit, come out, drop that one to Detroit. Then you play against the Blackhawks, and again, I think you get a win here. You sweep the Blackhawks in November. Again, why? Because they are still the Blackhawks. They still play in Chicago. They're still the same team, and they're still the same team that only has Connor Bedard as the only talented member of their team. So again, I think we beat the Blackhawks for the second time in the month of November. Then you go and you play against the Penguins, and here I think you drop this game. You know, Sidney Crosby and the Penguins might upset you a little bit. I know, the Penguins are not great. They haven't been great for quite a while now. But I still think you lose this one. I think this is one that just slips away from you, falls out of your grasp. I mean, I got to find some losses on the month of November here. I'm definitely putting it at this one right here. Then you're playing against the Islanders, the New York Islanders, who have not been a playoff team for a fat minute. Right? I feel bad for Matthew Barzal. He is in purgatory right now with the New York Islanders, right? He also was coached by Lane Lambert, who is now the coach for the Seattle Kraken. So this is a Lane Lambert revenge game of sorts. I always say that, like, oh, this is a revenge game for so-and-so, but like they actually don't have any like ill will with any of these teams. But a chance to kind of beat his former team. And I think he does. I think the Kraken don't beat up on the Islanders. The Islanders are still an okay hockey team. They're not like the Sabres or the Blue Jackets or the Blackhawks or the Sharks or the Ducks of the world. They're still an okay hockey team. So I think you win. Maybe it's a bit of a close game, but I still think you pick up the win against the Islanders because they are not all that great. Then you play against the Stars. And unfortunately, I hate to admit it, the Stars are still the Stars. They are still really good. They're still a great hockey team, still a playoff team, still have Mikko Rantanen, are still a bit scary to play, so I think you lose to them. You lose both matchups to them in the month of November, which is hard for me to say, because usually I like to say, oh yeah, you'll just split the series there, but no. I think the Stars are just arguably better than us. You're going to lose to them. And then to cap off the month of November, you play against division opponents. You play against the Edmonton Oilers, the Stanley Cup runner-ups 2 times running now. I think you squeak out a win against them. You've already beaten them. You've beaten them once already this year. Don't think that was a fluke. I do not think that was a fluke, like, at all. I think we're the better hockey team than Edmonton? No. But I think we might be one of those division opponents that we just have the number for Edmonton. Last year, that was the Ducks and the Sharks for us. The Sharks and the Ducks just had our number last year, and it pissed me off. Because every time we played them, they found ways to just win games against us, and it was brutal. But I think that this year, the first win we got against them back in October, I think that was a sign that maybe we have the number for the Oilers. That we have the capability to just beat them every single time in the regular season. Maybe that's a bit of a lofty ideal, but I think that we might have the team this year to just have the number for the Oilers and beat them to close out November. So that puts the November record for the Kraken at 9 wins and 5 losses. Is it optimistic? Absolutely. Do I think we might hit that? Probably not. I know I said that, but those were my official predictions for what I think is going to happen. So yeah, some of those might change. Some of those, again, a lot of it's up to chance. A lot of them, there might be a fluke game that just sneaks away from them, right? I usually try to account for some of those in my predictions, so we'll see how that pans out. I'll definitely keep you guys updated about that. I might make a little graphic and post it to keep myself humble a little bit. But yeah, that is my month of November predictions for the Seattle Kraken. Our next little segment talking about the Kraken, I want to take a little bit of a quarter, actually not quite even a quarter season, it's like more like an 8th season check-in on the Kraken. And I want to talk about who are the most impressive and who are the most underwhelming Kraken so far in the 2025-2026 season. So starting it off, let's start with most underwhelming. Kicking it off, Chandler Stevenson. 2 goals and 3 assists. That sounds okay. I mean, 10 games in, 2 goals, 3 assists. I don't know. I'm not all that impressed by it, right? I will say, though, looking at the stats for all the Kraken, were pretty spread out evenly. Again, it is still early in the season, but it's been not one name really dominating all that much, although I think there is one name that's kind of standing above everybody else, both on the stat sheet and just on the ice as well. I'll get into that when I talk about my most impressive Kraken. But number one for most underwhelming is Chandler Stevenson. He's just been, for a guy that we picked up last year from the Golden Knights, who was supposed to bring that cup experience to the Kraken, be a guy who was an assist guy. He just has not been all. He hasn't been everywhere on the ice at all this year, so it's been a little frustrating to watch. Number 2 on this list, Berkeley Catton, 3 assists through 5 games. I know it's actually that's okay, but just he's only played 5 games. Everybody in the off season, in the preseason, in the ramp up to the start of the season was like, man, who's going to be a really great addition to the Kraken this year, and who's going to finally have his breakout, and who's going to really have a rookie year that's going to turn heads. It's going to be Berkeley Catton. And he hasn't done that. Hasn't scored a goal yet. I'm pretty sure he only has 3 assists, 5 games. Underwhelming. There was so much hype around him. And I think I might have been the very few people who've been saying, guys, Berkeley Catton is not that good. He's not going to be that good. I don't think he's going to be that good. I think he's been egregiously overhyped. Egregiously. To the point where I think that people are going to be severely underwhelmed by him. I'm underwhelmed by him. So I wonder how people will start to react to him after this season. Maybe I'm going to eat crow here in a little bit, as the season keeps going. Maybe he starts getting more playing time. Maybe he starts to kind of run away with this season a little bit and has a Rookie of the Year caliber season. But nonetheless, I'll stick to my guns and say I think that Berkeley Catton might be a bust, just like Matty Beniers and Shane Wright. But interestingly, I also have them on this list in the most impressive category, so stay tuned if you're hoping to hear who the most impressive Kraken are. And then capping it off, the most underwhelming Kraken so far this year, Eeli Tolvanen. No goals and only 2 assists, and he's played, I believe, 10 games or so. I think I had him on I wrote an article for the Daily Evergreen ranking my top 10 most intriguing Kraken. I had him somewhere on there, I'm pretty sure. He had or maybe I didn't. I think I might have taken him off that list. I got to go back and reread that. But last year was a great year for him. I think he had about 20-some-odd goals, or I believe, and that was among the most he's had in his career. So I was thinking, hey, maybe Eeli Tolvanen's on the up and up. Maybe we revive his career a little bit. Maybe he starts to pick it up a bit. Maybe he finds a real home with the Kraken, that type of stuff. And the start of this year has just been him not really getting in on a lot of plays, not being seen a lot on the ice. I mean, he's played every single game, but when I say not seen on the ice, I mean, are they saying his name? Are you hearing his name? Is he laying hits? Is he physical on the ice? Is he getting in on plays? Is he getting those assists? Is he getting those goals? Is he actually contributing? And so far this year, no, not really. He only has 2 assists. He's not been that fun to watch. I will say that. But that's it for the most underwhelming Kraken: Stevenson, Catton, and Eeli Tolvanen. Those are my 3 most underwhelming Kraken so far, only about 10 or so games into the season. Now, looking across the other side, I got my most impressive Kraken. And standing atop the list, a guy who I absolutely love. He's amazing. I think he might have been somewhere on my most intriguing Krakens list. That, or maybe I completely underwhelmed him. Maybe I was not familiar with his game. But I got a number 1 on this list right now, Jaden Schwartz. He had an amazing season last year. I was expecting some big stuff out of him, and so far he's delivered. He's leading the team for points at the moment. 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points through about 10-some-odd games. He has been fun to watch. I love him. Schwartzy, he's one of the best players on this team. Maybe not skill-wise, but just he gets it done. He's a bit of an older dude, has that kind of veteran experience that I love to see. It's awesome. It's great. The fact that he's leading the team for points is awesome as well. He's just been a spark plug for this team. He's a physical guy, too. I love Jaden Schwartz, and that's why he's been impressing me so much coming into this season. Did I expect this from him a little bit? Maybe a little bit. Did I expect him to be the points leader of the team about 10 games in? No, I did not. Maybe the goal leader, but he's just been super fun to watch. He's been picking up those assists, so I got him at number 1. Number 2, the captain, Jordan Eberle. 4 goals and 4 assists, just 1 assist behind Jaden Schwartz. So I believe that puts Eberle at number 2 on team, 4 points overall. Last year was rough for him because he starts out the year being named the captain, gets hurt right off the bats, is out for a long time, finally comes back and just wasn't quite the same, right? It was brutal. It was bad. We were captainless for a while, which is part of the reason why we didn't end up making it to the postseason. Kind of just took out our kneecaps at the very start of the year, and we just didn't quite recover from there. And that was brutal, and that sucked, and it really hurt us, right? This year, he's back with a vengeance, and it has been awesome to see. And I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of the season as the captain, really the captain for the first time, because he didn't really get that last year. So this is his real first test being the captain for the Kraken. So that's why I got him at number 2. Number 3 on this list, I'm going with Matty Beniers. And I know that I have been one of the biggest Matty Beniers haters on this podcast for a long time. But this year, he might be proving me wrong, right? He only has 1 goal, but he's making up for that with 5 assists. 5 assists, tied with Jaden Schwartz, right? Matty Beniers has been everywhere on the ice. Everywhere. I feel like every single game I tune into or listen to or see the highlights for, he is somewhere getting involved in the play. Setting things up, making those passes, getting in front of the net, doing XYZ, whatever needs to be done, he's doing it. And that's why I got him at number 3 spot for one of the most impressive Kraken. And in that same vein, number 4, the last guy on this list, Shane Wright. He's been such a balanced player this year. 3 goals, 3 assists. Is he going to be able to keep that up? I don't know. Being a very balanced player on the ice, picking up the same amount of goals, the same amount of assists, that type of stuff. I'm not sure. But last year was a slow start for him. At one point, he was a healthy scratch about a quarter of the way into the season, and then from that point on, kind of picked it up a little bit. But right now, Shane Wright has just come out swinging a little bit in this 2025-2026 season. So that's why I got him at number 4 for most impressive because, again, both him and Matty Beniers I thought were busts. I still do. I still think they're busts. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to jump on their bandwagon anytime soon. But they're doing better than I was expecting. And I appreciate that because they are 2 young, talented guys, high draft picks that I was expecting to be superstars who haven't been superstars, but are starting to play a little bit more like a first-line guy. And I like to see that. Thank you, Matty Beniers. Thank you, Shane Wright. That's going to do it for that segment, talking about the most impressive, most underwhelming Kraken so far this season. And the last little bit to close out the Kraken segment, I'm going to do my top 3 predictions for the Kraken this season. And is it way too early to be making these predictions? Absolutely. I think it is way too early to be making predictions, and that's why I'm going to do them right now. So my first one is I think wholeheartedly the Kraken are going to finish 3rd in the Pacific Division, with Vegas being probably on the top and then Oilers right below them, right? I think we have the potential to be the number 3 team in the division. I think that would clinch us a playoff spot without having to go to the wild card. Pretty sure. I just think that the Kraken have a solid team. We have a balanced team. Again, people saying you have a team full of second liners. Well, I'll take that over a team that only has a first line. They have a first line and then nobody else. You're lopsided, right? I'll take a team that's balanced. It's usually the balanced teams that end up doing pretty good because they're able to lean on a number of different guys, not just one player. That guy gets injured, that guy gets hurt, that guy maybe doesn't perform up to expectations, and then the whole team fails. When you have a team that's balanced, like the Kraken are looking this year, I could see you finishing 3rd in the Pacific Division. Maybe not going horribly far in the playoffs, but I could see us being a playoff team at the very least. Second prediction this year for the Kraken. Kaapo Kakko is going to be top 5 for points on the team. He's just about ready to make his, I believe, I've been hearing people talk about him coming back in the next few games. So I'm not sure exactly when he's going to make his debut this season. But I think even with the 10-some-odd games that he's missed, he's going to make that up real quick. He's going to get to work immediately. He's going to get it mainly through probably assists, maybe a goal every now and then, but he's going to get involved on plays on the first line. On the first line, he's going to be setting guys up, getting those passes, laying hits, being a selfless hockey player, and he's going to allow guys on this team to shine. He's going to pick up a lot of assists. He's going to be top 5 for points and probably the assist leader for the Kraken this year. That's my hot take about that, my prediction, right? Kaapo Kakko is that guy. and he's proved that he's found a home here in Seattle. And I think if we can build something around this guy, 100%. Then my third prediction, and third and final prediction for the Kraken this season is that either Matt Murray or Grubauer gets sent down to Coachella Valley or traded or put on waivers. Because I do not think this three-man goaltending, not tandem, because tandem, I believe, refers to two people, this three-person goaltending trio is not going to work out. I think we've been trying to make it work. It's still just been Joey Daccord playing most games, which, again, I arguably think far and away Joey Daccord is the best goaltender on this team. Matt Murray doesn't compare to him. Grubauer doesn't compare to him. Love Grubauer, fan favorite. He's been here since the very start, I'm pretty sure. But you've done your time here. It might be time to move on a little bit, right? You're done. We put him on waivers last year and then picked him back up off waivers last year. And I've said this a lot before that move really pissed me off, and it was really frustrating because I hate when teams do that because it makes no sense. But I believe that either Matt Murray or Grubauer, and maybe the halfway part of the season, is not going to be on the Kraken anymore, right? Whether that's just being sent down to the minors or whether that's being traded completely, traded or put on waivers or whatever. I would say you might want to do that to Grubauer because we've kind of seen we already know what we're going to get out of Grubauer. Maybe try something new with Matt Murray. That would be my take on that. But yeah, that's my third and final prediction this season for the Kraken. And before we close out the episode, we are going to do a Seahawks segment. We're going to be doing our predictions for the last couple games of the year. So if you're hoping to get some Seahawks content, stick around. We're going to run through that really quickly. Going to be a bit of a short segment nonetheless. That's going to do it for the Kraken. We talked Mariners, we talked Kraken. We're about to talk Seahawks as well. So again, if you're wanting to listen to some Seahawks content, do not go away. You're listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio.
Welcome back to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. I'm Smith Sly. And our last segment today, I know it's a bit of a long episode, even though it's just me in the booth today. Didn't get any guests today. Again, it's the day after Halloween. Give everybody a bit of a rest. But the last little segment we got to talk about, we talked the Mariners, we talked the Kraken, and the last Seattle sport on the docket is the Seattle Seahawks. They are having one hell of a year so far. They just beat the Texans last year before the bye week. They were on the bye week this week, so nothing really to talk about from this past. There's no matchup to talk about. They're going to play against the Commanders next. They've got so much momentum moving into this week. Jackson Smith-Njigba, even with the bye week, is still the number one receiver in the entire NFL, which is mainly because we just kind of force feed him the ball a little bit. It's Sam Darnold passing to him over and over and over and over and over again. But he's still the best receiver in the entire league, and it's super fun to watch. And again, I think we need to build around him. We got a good QB with Sam Darnold. We got a good running back with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, a good tandem together that works really well together. We can definitely build something around Jackson Smith-Njigba. But using the momentum that they've had from that Texans win, I think it was 20-something to 17. Could have been better. The Texans are not that good of a football team. They've had a bit of a rough start to the year, and we probably should have beat up on them a little bit more than we did. But nonetheless, let's look at what this momentum can do for the Seahawks moving forward into the last 11 games of the season. So, starting off, you got the Commanders. They're playing us tomorrow, 5:40 p.m., I'm pretty sure. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, be perfectly blunt to Seahawks fans. We're going to lose against the Commanders. I think we're going to pick up a loss against the Commanders. Our third loss of the year. It's going to be 24-20. I think the Commanders are a good team. They were a playoff team last year. I think they're still a playoff team. Bobby Wagner's going to get, again, using the term, the revenge game. Yeah, he's going to get a bit of a revenge game against the Seahawks. They're going to win. Still close, 24-20, right? But nonetheless, I think the Commanders are going to come away with a win there. The Seahawks are going to drop that one. Then they're going to play against the Cardinals for the second time this year. Look, Cardinals are awful, not good. They're bad. They're just not good, right? We're gonna probably beat up on the Cardinals. We beat up on them a little bit in that first game we played against them, but I think that still ended up being a close game. So I think this time is where we kind of get our blowout win against them. I say we win that game somewhere along the lines of 30-10, right? You're going to kind of beat up on the Cardinals a little bit in game 2 of that NFC West matchup. Then, staying in the NFC West, you're going to go play against the Rams, and I think you win this one. First time you're playing against them this year, pick up a win, 27-20. I know everybody is saying that the Rams are they're a really good team. At least at the start of the year, they were like, man, the Rams are looking like a really good team. They might be Super Bowl contenders. No, they're not. They're the Rams. They're the Los Angeles Rams. I think we're better than them. I think we're a better football team. If you're going to say that about the Rams, then you might as well say that about the Seahawks as well. So I say we beat the Rams somewhere along the lines of 27-20. Then you're playing against the Titans. And unfortunately, I hate to do it to them because Cam Ward, former Coug, is their quarterback. We're going to beat up on the Titans. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be good if you're a Seahawks fan, but it's going to be a real bad day if you're a Titans fan. We're going to absolutely lock down their offense. Cam Ward's not going to be able to do anything. We're going to probably run all over them a little bit on offense. I think it's going to be final score, probably something around 38-10. It's going to be a blowout. It's going to be hard to watch if you're a Titans fan. And it's going to be a good win for us. Then you're playing against the Vikings. Again, it's been a lot of revenge games I keep bringing up with a lot of players playing against their old teams. Sam Darnold playing against the Vikings. Look, you're going to win this game. Vikings are not that good. Lost Sam Darnold. That was definitely a blow I don't think they're going to come back from. You're just going to pick up a win, 28-17. Right? There's a reason why the Vikings lost in the round 1 of the playoffs last year. Because even with Sam Darnold, they're still not all that great. So I say you don't beat up on them in this game. You win by 11. That's still pretty good, but not a blowout, but also not quite a close game. About middle of the pack, you still pick up a win against the Vikings. Then you're playing against the Falcons. Again, this one might be a little bit more of a blowout. You're going to get a win against the Falcons, maybe 35-17. That is definitely a little bit more of a blowout. That's a bit more on par with what I was talking about with the Cardinals, that 30-10 win I'm saying they're going to get. The Falcons are just not that good. Right, they got Kirk Cousins, but right now it's been Michael Penix Jr., the former Husky, who's been the QB. I think he's had some problems though at the start of this year. Kirk Cousins is not the same, Kirk Chains that he used to be. So I say you beat the Falcons. Again, Falcons are not that good of a team. They haven't been for a little bit, especially after they lost in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. Ever since then, they have not been that great. Then you're playing the Colts. This one scares me. This one really, really scares me. Right, the Colts have been one of the top teams in the league so far, surprisingly, because similar to like what I was talking about with the Sharks or the Blue Jackets or the Buffalo Sabres, the Colts were a team that I kind of forgot existed in the NFL until this year, until everybody started talking about them. This is where I think the Seahawks pick up another loss. They're going to lose to the Colts. The Colts are just a good team this year, but it's going to be close. I think the Seahawks have what it takes to keep it close against the Colts. I think it's going to be 31-27. Close game. Only by 4 points, a little bit more than a field goal. Still, close game. Then you're playing against the Rams again. And I know I was kind of, dogging on the Rams a little bit in that first matchup I was talking about where I said we were going to win 27-20. This is where I kind of walk it back a little bit. I say the Rams are going to pick up a win in this one. They're going to win it 27-24. Win it by a field goal, right? Maybe it's a last-minute field goal, literally. Just a last-minute field goal. Rams win it 27-24. Close game. They're still an okay team. They're still good. So that's why I think it'll not necessarily a fluke that we beat them the first time, but I think they have what it takes to get that win in matchup number 2. Kind of split the season series with the Seahawks. Then second to last game of the season, you're playing against the Panthers. Panthers are awful. Panthers are one of those teams that I forgot existed in the league because I remember Cam Newton playing for the Panthers, but then ever since then I don't really remember anybody else playing for the Panthers. Why? Because they're the Carolina Panthers, and they are awful. And I think you're going to beat them pretty soundly. A bit of a blowout, 31-14 is my prediction for that game. Again, a bit of a blowout. And then to cap it all off, it ends how it starts. You're playing against the San Francisco 49ers. I have no doubt in my mind we're going to pick up a win in this game. Still going to be close because for some reason the 49ers have been getting by with just pure tenacity and the power of friendship. I don't know how they're doing this, but I think it might be a bit of a close game, but I still think the Seahawks are going to win this game. Come away with a 28-21 win. So win it by basically a touchdown. Could be a last-minute drive. Sam Darnold leads us downfield, gets a touchdown, end up winning that game. Doesn't fumble the ball, like he did in game 1 of the season against the 49ers. I think that was Nick Bosa who forced the fumble too. So ideally, that does not happen. We drive downfield, we actually get a touchdown, and we actually are able to win that game. That would be nice. That would be enjoyable. But nonetheless, it's a winning record for the Seahawks. They win in the remainder of these games they have in the season. I have them winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Have them winning 7 games to end the season. I have them losing 1, 2, 3. They go 7-3 for the remainder of this season. That's what I haven't predicted. That again, a lot of people are probably going to say this and be like, "You don't know what you're talking about. This is insane. You are crazy." But I don't know. I feel in my heart of hearts that this is how the remainder of the season is going to go for the Seahawks. And I'll keep this. I'll keep it written down. I'll probably make a graphic for it at the very least, put it up so I can be held accountable, so people can go back and laugh at me if they need to. Or if I end up hitting it on the head, then I can point to this and be like, y'all were wrong. I was right. So hopefully these predictions pan out, because this would make us, I believe this would get us into the playoffs. This would be awesome. But if it doesn't, that kind of sucks. The year will be a bit of a wash. But I have no doubt in my mind that the Seahawks are going to be playoff contenders this year, because we've built a team that can compete with just about anybody in the league. And if they're going to lose to good teams, they're going to lose in a close game, which is, it's still a loss. But I think all the losses I have here for the Seahawks have all been one possession, 1 point, or one score games, basically. So those are my predictions for the Seahawks. Let me know how you feel about those. I'll post this to YouTube, so let me know in the comments. I'll post some clips to Instagram as well. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts about these predictions for the Seahawks. But that's the last segment. That's going to do it for this episode of Slice of Seattle. No guests in the booth today. Again, bit of a sleepy day on the Palouse today. Just want to get in, do a little bit of a solo episode, try and see if I could fill an hour. And I did. Actually did a pretty good job. Filled about a little over an hour of content, which is actually pretty great. That's awesome, considering I didn't have anybody else to talk to up in the booth today. So I do feel a little bit lonely right now. I feel a little bit insane, just kind of talking into the ether right now. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Slice of Seattle. If you're just tuning in now and you missed any segments that you want to go back and listen to again, I will post this episode to YouTube in its entirety. So don't worry. Don't stress out about it. You'll be able to go back and listen to anything that you missed potentially in this episode. But that's it for this episode of Slice of Seattle. Again, thank you all so much for listening. Remember, it is a great day to have a great day, and go Cougs.